friends, welcome back to the channel. So today I have a double book review for you. So in the month of June I received 2 books for review from the authors. They very kindly sent me copies of their books and I was super excited to jump on here and talk to you guys about both of these books. But before we get into the video, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you don't miss any videos. So the first book that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Mina the Undead by Amy McCaw. And Amy, who is very, very sweet, make sure you go follow her on Instagram. She sent me a copy of this book all the way from the UK, and I still have a box sitting here that I am procrastinating on sending. I'm a perfectionist and I've been waiting to get just the right things to go in there before sending it over. So this is a fantastic book. So let's talk about the promotional materials first. So the book came with some fantastic promotional materials. So first we have 1995 Fang Fest, 13th to 17th July in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and New Orleans is where the book takes place. So we have this. So the book obviously takes place in 1995. So we have a flyer for the festival that the gang went to. And then we have a couple of postcards. So we have this one that has New Orleans on the front of it, and on the back it's a mock postcard from Libby back to her sister Mina in the UK, and it says, "Hey sis, I know things have been pretty weird between us lately. I want to make it up to you. Check out the flyer." So this is the flyer that she sent with the postcard, and said, check out the flyer and let me know what you think. Could be fun. So basically she's inviting her sister over from the UK to New Orleans to go to this festival and kind of spend a little bit of time with her. So Mina is over in Yorkshire in the UK. So that was fantastic. And that's kind of where the story began. And then we have another postcard that is a promo material for the second book in the series, actually Mina and the Slayers, which this beautiful purple here is on the cover of that book that's upcoming. It's not out yet, but as soon as it comes out, I am going to be getting it. And on the back here it says, "To Elizabeth, I know you're a Buffy and 90s horror fan, so I hope this ticks all of your boxes, Amy." So very, very grateful that she sent that all the way from the UK. And there's actually a bookmark as well, which is upstairs, that came with it, and it just has Mina on it, I believe, in her website. So let's talk about the cover art first. So the cover art is gorgeous on this book. I love the font that was used, and it has like a Be Kind Rewind here, just like from the 90s. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. It was just my 40th birthday yesterday. So you know, this was just right up my alley. And then on the inside, well, first of all, we have these beautiful black sprayed edges. And on the inside, Amy did sign this, and it says, "Welcome to the mansion of the macabre." So that's there. And then this is just a beautiful book. So all of the first of every chapter, the first page of every chapter has these beautiful gas lamps here. And the chapter breaks as well. Let me see if I can find it. And then the chapter breaks have these beautiful little bats. So it's just, you know, it's really nice touches. Like I mentioned when I spoke about this book in a recent tag video, it just adds to the reading experience for the reader, especially if they just love beautiful books. I love this book. I think it's one of the most beautiful books I've ever received. So thank you so much, Amy, for sending this over. So getting into the story. So like I read on the postcard, so Mina travels from the UK to visit her sister in New Orleans, and you know, there's a bit of a family dynamic there. Libby is older than her, and it does go into the backstory, and there's a little bit of friction between the two. So Libby invites her over, and you know, for the summer, and just say, you know, come over, stay with me, and you know, we can have a lot of fun. They go to this Fang Fest, and Libby also has a job in a haunted attraction, which is great. It was one of my favorite parts of the story. So Mina comes over, and she actually ends up getting hired on as one of the actors in this this haunted mansion attraction in New Orleans, and somebody ends up dead. So in the house somebody ends up murdered, and they actually find hair that's very similar to Libby's hair that's, I believe, grasped in her hand. So the whole gang of, so Libby and her sister Mina and their friends and all of that get wrapped into this murder mystery of a serial killer that's killing girls in New Orleans. But kind of along the same lines of that, there's also a vampire story that's wrapped in here as well. So there's lots of adventure, there's lots of fun, and it's just, you know, a constant go, go, go in this book. So that was great. It was a great adventure. I love that the vampires were wrapped in here, because with a story that you have that's set against the background of New Orleans, you know, having haunted attractions and tarot readers and vampires and, you know, all of those things, you can just picture in your mind, you know, the dark streets and all of this sort of macabre stuff going on. So I absolutely love that. And like I showed you on the first chapter pages, they have the gas lamps there, so you can just imagine what this was like back in the 90s for these two sisters and their group of friends. So that was fantastic. I really enjoyed the story. And above and beyond that, because this happens in the 90s, and because Amy is such a lover of the 90s herself, it has a lot of Easter eggs and tidbits and a lot of nostalgia for anybody who grew up during that period, or for anybody who's younger that longs for that period and they just love, you know, all of those nostalgic feels. It really does have it all in there. I really, really enjoyed that aspect as well. And New Orleans has always been somewhere that I've wanted to visit. So just diving into this book, it just transported me there for a little while amongst this vampire stories, serial killers, like I said, the dark streets of that city. And so that was really, really great. The only downside of this book for me, and you know, keeping in mind that this is geared towards YA, it is a YA book, is that in some parts it is a little heavy with the romance, and it's to the point where it kind of took me out of the story a bit. But you guys know what I'm like with romance. It's just not my thing, especially with YA. I'm not really too sure. It just doesn't jive with me. But having said that, I mean, that's a totally personal opinion. And the other thing that I did really like that sort of made up for that was the diversity that was in this story. So it does have a lot of heart. It has a lot of diversity. So there was just that one aspect that pretty much every YA book you're going to read is going to have some romance in it. Like I said, that's just a personal opinion. So I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was great. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I'm definitely going to pick up the next book when it comes out. And I highly recommend that if you guys haven't picked up this book yet, make sure you go get a copy, and make sure you pick up Mina and the Slayers as soon as it's available as well. And then the next book that I received for review was Mandy by Stephanie Sparks. So she sent me this book, and she did sign the inside of it for me. So it says, "To Elizabeth, thank you for all of your support. I hope you enjoy this one. All the best." And it came with a bookmark as well for the book, and it has her her website on the back also. So this book, so Stephanie Sparks, like I've said many times on this channel, has been a real go-to author for me. I've enjoyed pretty much everything that she's written. Kill the Babysitter that I read last year was in my top 10. I believe it was in my top 5 books of the year. And I also read The Stepchildren and Scream Queen this year. So this is my 3rd novella that I've read by her this year. And it didn't disappoint. It was Stephanie Sparks all over it. But if you've read her writing before, this was like the unedited, uncut version of Stephanie Sparks's writing. She went to places that I didn't think it was going to go to, and the story was bonkers. It was a, I guess you would qualify it as an extreme horror. Not really. So the thing here is, it does have a lot of content warnings. It does have a lot of themes in here that you could say, okay, you know what, like this is a bit crazy. But here's the thing, is that it goes there, but not too deeply. So it has themes in it that maybe you would want to rethink, but it doesn't go deep into those things. It doesn't linger in, you know, just gross for being gross kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So it goes there, it goes to some dark places, but it's necessary to the story she's trying to tell, and it makes for a really, really great horror book. This, and I said this on my Instagram, is probably one of the best horror stories that I've ever read, just because of the imagination that it takes to develop the whole story, and Mandy's abilities. So getting into the synopsis, so we follow Mandy Fisher, and she has a strange ability to be able to bring people back from the dead. And one of the things that I love is that her father owns a funeral home, and Mandy helps him out. And I lived and worked in a funeral home when I was younger. I loved every minute of it, to the point where I almost became a funeral director myself, but I ended up going another route. But that whole aspect of the story that was wrapped in here was fantastic. I love the character of Mandy. She has lots of kind of multiple layers that you peel back her story, and she's very relatable to anyone who is not quite like other people. They're introverts, they just kind of want to be left alone. So she's very relatable in that aspect. So she's asleep one night and a knock comes at her door. This person won't go away, so she opens the door and there's a guy standing there, and he's crying, and he's like, oh my god, like my friend, he's dead. And he asks Mandy basically to bring him back from the dead. But what she brings back, she wasn't expecting. So the young man, Robbie, is one of those characters that you have a seething hatred for this character. And now Mandy has brought him back from the dead, and now she has to deal with it. And this character, Robbie, is just dripping with privilege and really thinks he can get away with whatever he does. Of course, he comes from like a rich family, like he's the rich pretty boy sort of thing. And I don't want to get into too much because it's such a short book, but let's just say that he is very dislikable. So now Mandy has to try to deal with what she has brought back. And from cover to cover, this book is only about 120 pages. From cover to cover, it's nonstop. It is nonstop action. You're like, did I just read that? Yeah, I just read that. But like I said, even with all of the content warnings that it has, it's not gross for being gross sake. It doesn't go deep into those things, but it was very much needed to add to the story to make it what it was. And I loved every single minute of this story. I read it in one day. And like Stephanie Sparks' other books, she really has this ability to be able to bring me out of any kind of slump that I'm in and really want to pick up another book right away, because it's like, this was a great story. And so I gave this book 5 stars. Like I said, I can't get into too much with you guys because it's only 120 pages. But it's a deep story. It's a great story. It doesn't stop from beginning to end. And I loved how she wrapped all of this up. Stephanie Sparks is a real talent, and she is not talked about enough in the horror community. Personally, I think she needs to get a lot more recognition than she has. And like I said, this is one of the best horror stories that I think I've ever read. So fantastic job, Stephanie. I love this book. So Mandy is going to be out on August the 1st of this year. It's just in a couple of weeks. Make sure you go into Amazon and pre-order your copy and have a lot of fun with it. Of course, let me know if you guys end up picking it up and reading it. I hope you guys do decide to pick it up because it's a great story. So make sure you read the content warnings on this one just to make sure that you know what you're getting in for if you are into content warnings. But other than that, fantastic job, Stephanie. Hurry up and write something else. So both of these books were great. I enjoyed both of them thoroughly. Mina and the Undead, like I said, make sure to pick up the second book in this series. If you haven't read the first one, you can go ahead and pick up both. And Mandy is out on August the 1st, and go pick up more of Stephanie Sparks's other novellas. She's fantastic as well. So 2 great women horror authors. Thank you so much to both of you for sending those books again. And for everyone else, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a question or a comment down below, because you know I love chatting with you guys. But until next time, stay spooky, everybody. Bye.